Entering Echo Base, we're going to be taking Droideka as player 1, and then Ghost Yoda should already be player 2 as long as we did the character management correctly in the previous levels. And this level, in my opinion, is the most difficult in this entire run. Mainly for the reason that it has 2 specific Yoda clips that are a lot more difficult than a lot of the ones that we've been doing. So a lot of the Yoda clips that we've been doing are pretty lenient. They're super easy to just be in the same spot. You don't have to time anything super precisely. But there are 2 clips in this level that kind of break that mold and are a lot more difficult. The first one is here in room 1, and it's notable that if you really want to, you could just build this bomb here and have it explode to open up the door. That would be perfectly fine. But alternatively, the clip happens right here, and the reason why it's so difficult is because we can't just swap to Droideka and roll through the collision. So what we actually have to do is we have to swap to Droideka and then swap back to Ghost Yoda and get a jump in order to jump into the ceiling. So that's what it looks like to get the trick. It is very weird, and the collision is super funky in order to get it. But really, the most important thing is your positioning on the archway where the collision is, and then also the height at which you do the swaps in order to jump out of bounds. And then as we move into this hallway, we can just animation cancel these 3 snowtroopers, and then we're going to do another Yoda clip here, and this one is pretty lenient. We're just going to do a double jump slam, swap to Droideka, and then swap back to Yoda. Because when we're Droideka up here, our hitbox is really huge, so it takes a second for us to fall down. Whereas if we swap to Ghost Yoda, we can just start moving in the out of bounds collision a little bit sooner. And then this out of bounds movement here is a little tricky at first because you're doing it kind of blind. But as you do it more and understand how it works in principle, it becomes pretty easy. So it's notable that when you're in out of bounds collision, if you're too far away, the camera will not follow you properly. So you kind of just have to have a good feeling for where you're at. But as soon as you get close enough to being in bounds, then the camera will start to track where your character is. So we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to start off by going in an up left direction, and then moving more in an up right direction, coming further down until the camera recognizes us as being in the next room. So we'll start by going up left, and then after we've gone for a little bit, we can start to move more in an upright direction. And as you can see, I started adjusting downward so that I could get closer to this room here, and the camera now is following me, which makes it easier to see what's going on. We're just going to be hugging the outside of this collision. There's plenty of space out here, so you don't have to worry about keeping it too tight or too far away. You really shouldn't be falling, and even if you do start to fall, you can just come back and start up warping to make it back up to the collision. But as you can see here, by how I'm holding up and down, there really is a ton of space out of bounds. And then we're just going to keep following along to skip this room, and when we get close to the next hallway here, we're going to swap to Ghost Yoda and do a jump slash. That just helps us get into the collision a little bit easier, because getting back in bounds, depending on what the collision in this cave looks like, is not the easiest thing to do. And as you could see, even when I showed you, I still got a little bit stuck and ended up doing an extra couple of swaps just to make it in. So now we can just head through this hallway. We can just jump over and ignore these guys. We don't need to kill any of them. And then we're going to be doing another Yoda clip here by double jump slamming and then swapping to Droideka. And then when we get into this door here, we need to do another swap to Yoda and swap to Droideka to get through. But we don't need to wait until we're all the way on the floor, so I'm just going to show you what it looks like to do the full clip with the extra swaps right away. And that pushed us into the transition. And now we can just roll through this room. We're going to be heading over to the left, actually. And we'll just double jump and try to make it up to this box if we can. Normally our second player would not be forcing that for us, but we basically just want to beeline it to this box here. And then once we're on top, we're just going to do a triple jump to get up to this area, and then a double jump slam on the side here in order to make it to the next hallway. And this is actually great that this happened because I can show you this as an example. But there are times where, like I mentioned before, you can get stuck when you're coming back and hitting the collision of the inside of the cave. And so just doing a swap to Ghost Yoda and then back to Droideka will fix your positioning and let you drop down. We'll build this bomb here, and we can start Yoda slashing into this transition just for movement purposes, and then immediately head up towards this door for the next skip that we're going to do. And this is not a Yoda clip where we double jump slam in order to make it over something. There actually is just no collision up here for whatever reason. You can just jump straight up there. So what we're going to do is we're going to do kind of a delayed triple jump where we double jump slam and then swap to Droideka. We're going to do it on the right side of this door. And as long as our positioning is correct, we should just roll directly into the door transition and straight into this room. And then entering this room, in my opinion, this is the most difficult clip of the entire run. It is the same in principle to the clip that we did in the first room of this level, but it's very different because of this collision that we have here. We're not going to be doing the clip in the middle of the archway, in the middle of this curve of the cave. We're going to be following this like line where there's the division between these two walls here. But again, in theory, these work the same. So that actually would have worked to there. That I think I was a little too far to the right. That would have been too far to the right. So really the hardest thing is that it's difficult to make sure that you're in the right position. And then also you have to ensure that you're at the right height when you do your swaps. But it's not too bad, and when you're really in practice with the trick, you should be hitting it pretty consistently. And then we're just going to jump slash as we enter the final room. You can swap to Droideka. You can kill a couple of these guys if they're like really in your way. Otherwise, we're going to mostly avoid them. And then we need to destroy each side of this big red barrier here. So we're going to go to the right side and use Ewok with Super Ewok Catapult and take 2 shots there. And then same with the other side, just 2 shots to the barrier. And that will destroy the barrier and get us access to the Falcon. And then here, we don't need to build either this part here of the Falcon or the top part. We can just do a clip to get in. And this is just a slash swap to Droideka. And it's really easy, really lenient to hit. You just slash and then swap, and the hitbox pushes you in. And then for Cantina movement, since we have 2 ship levels coming up, we can go ahead and just swap to Ghost Yoda because he's a little bit faster in the Cantina, and we'll be taking him into Hoth battle.